welcome. It's so glad to have you today. And today we're interviewing for the Finish in 4 office to give some guidance and tips about finding career plans and interests. So, how about you can introduce yourself to us?
Sure, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this. This is a great honor, and I appreciate the invitation. For folks that may be watching this later that don't know me, my name is Tom Manuel, and I am in the music department, specifically the jazz department at Stony Brook University. I am the artist in residence there, and I play the cornet and work extensively with our jazz students from undergraduate all the way up to our doctoral students. And I also get the privilege to meet a lot of our non-music students through some improvisation classes I teach in the freshman seminar classes each year. So that is who I am and what I do.
That's so cool. I'm actually a non-music major student of Professor Thomas. And my first questions to you would be, when you were in college, what helped you decide on a major or career path?
Sure. Well, when I did my doctorate and my master's, I think I definitely had an idea where I was going and what I wanted to do. But to be very honest with you, when I pursued my undergraduate degree, I really was kind of not sure what I was going to do. I knew I loved music and I knew I loved history. I unfortunately did not have parents that went to college, so I didn't really have much direction from them. Although they loved me tremendously and supported me a ton, they really didn't know how to direct me and assist me. But fortunately, I had some friends and other relatives that helped me in that. And when I began my undergraduate at Boston University, I chose music with a minor in history, and truth be told, kind of figured it out during those 4 years. But it was a little bit of a baptism by fire, rocky start.
Hopefully you find out.
Yeah.
So my second question would be was there ever a time that you questioned yourself or of why you were in college? And then what did you do to resolve those kind of feelings?
Right. Every single day I questioned that. I could still remember walking from my dorm to the music building and every day thinking, am I doing the right thing? Am I working hard enough? Should I be doing something different? So I think for anybody watching this video, please know that education is a lifelong endeavor. It doesn't just happen in 4 years or in 4 years plus a master's degree or a doctoral degree. I mean, we're learning from the moment we come out of the womb to the moment we close our eyes. And how open and receptive you are to that journey will certainly contribute to how much you pick up along the way. Specifically, though, some things that I did, thankfully, I was very much so willing to just be very open and admit when I was struggling and reach out to professors or family members or even my fellow students and say, hey, I'm not getting this, what could I be doing different? Or do you have any suggestions? So looking back on it, and that's still something I do to this day, I'm very open to constructive criticism. And I always try and surround myself with people that know more than I do. And I try and hang out with people that I could, like a sponge, just learn from.
That's so nice that there's always help out there, like professors and classmates. So my third questions to you would be were there specific experience that you remember that have a great meaning or impact to you? It's either internships or mentoring or what type of experience like that would you recommend to the students?
Sure. There's so many, but a few that really stand out to me. I remember my freshman year in undergrad having one of my first lessons. I went to a music conservatory, one of my first lessons with my teacher, my trumpet teacher, and his studio overlooked the Boston skyline. And I remember he said, "So I want to tell you our plan for the next 4 years." And I remember that kind of took me because I thought, wow, this guy has it all figured out for 4 years. And he said, "This year, we want to figure out what building you're in." And he pointed to the Prudential building, the big skyscraper, you know.
Uh-huh.
He said, "Next year, we want to figure out what floor you're on." He said, "By the third year, we really want to know what office you're in on that floor in that building."
Uh-huh.
And he said, "And by your fourth year here, we want to know what your job is in that office on that floor in that building."
Wow.
And that was one of the best lessons ever that I still remember, because I think sometimes as students at any point in our life, we get so overwhelmed and think we have to figure it all out so quick. And that really allowed me to relax. And I realized, wow, I don't have to have it all figured out today or this semester. But if I have a plan, and to me, that was the real lesson, is to have a plan that keeps refining and has goals set for yourself. That was one of the best lessons I ever learned. And the second best lesson I learned was to always have a mentor in your life. I didn't realize it at the time, but when I look back, especially through my time in school, every time I had really good periods of growth, it was because there was one person that really took me under their wing, and one person that I was really making an effort to connect with and learn from. I had a wonderful student teacher that taught me so much about teaching, great teachers and mentors throughout my degrees that helped me as a player. But when I really look back to growth moments, it's because there was one person that was invested in me, but I had to invest my time in them. So that's a good lesson for students. You know, find that person that you click with and invest your time in them. They'll reciprocally invest their time in you, but that could be quite rewarding.
Wow. Yeah. I have heard a lot about like people recommending mentoring experience. Would you have like some tips for students to like find a good fit for like what kind of mentors would they be looking for, or like what kind of things they should do to find out, oh, if this is the right mentor that I should stick with, or like something like that?
Sure, that's a great question. You know, there's a saying in the music world for when we're practicing, you know, when you practice, you should always be sounding horrible, because you should be practicing the things that you cannot play. If you're practicing and you sound great, you're not really practicing. You're really sorry, that's my dogs, the mailman's here. You're really not practicing. You're more playing. Do you know what I mean? So to me, I think that if you want a good mentor, it's really important that your mentor challenges you, and is somebody that you not just somebody that you get along with great and somebody that likes everything you like. Your mentor should be somebody that challenges you into areas that you maybe feel a little uncomfortable as far as knowledge is concerned. You know, when I look back to some of my greatest mentors, when I did my doctorate here at Stony Brook University, I studied with Ray Anderson, one of the greatest jazz legends of the 20th and 21st century. And he got me composing, and I had never composed before. And I remember I felt so uncomfortable. But now I look back on that, and I can't imagine a week that would go by that I wouldn't be composing. It's such a great part of the creative process. But he was my mentor, but he really pushed me into an area that was so new and uncomfortable to me, but that really helped me grow. So finding a mentor you connect with, but a mentor that will be pushing you into areas that are new for you.
Oh, wow. That's actually so unique.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our next questions would be, how did you discover your interests and career goals? This will be indicating like maybe like after graduation or like more career-wise than academic-wise?
Right, right. Well, I was very fortunate that as a kid growing up, I had a lot of people in my family that emphasized the importance of choosing a career that was something that you loved doing. And to be very specific, I had relatives that told me straight outright, do not pick your job just to make a lot of money. You will be unhappy. Do not pick a job just because of a fancy title or for fame or anything like that. You'll be unhappy. And so I kind of already knew, even as a young man, I knew, well, it was not an option to not have my job or my career be something that I loved. And I knew I loved music, and I knew I loved teaching, and I knew I loved history. So to me, it had to be some connection of those. Now, once I started my educational journey, the first thing that made the most sense was to not only get my performance degree, but get my education degree and my certification so I could teach. And when I started teaching, I realized that although the balance was great, I realized that my heart really was destined for teaching higher education. And I kind of knew by the time I started my master's that I wasn't destined to teach public school for my entire career. And then so at a certain point, I transitioned and set my goal to leave public school and to start teaching at the collegiate level. So there was different stages and seasons in my studies, which was pretty exciting. So I would say again, it's back to that first wonderful analogy. Pick the building first.
Yeah.
Then figure out what floor you're on. Then figure out what office you're in, and then maybe after a while, figure out what department you want to move to, and
And changes happens.
Yeah, change happens. Yeah. Hope I answered that right. I have a habit of getting off track. Sorry.
No, that's totally fine. I actually think that analogy is really great, because like a lot of us is like trying to like do all kind of like clubs and events and activity to just like want to build ourselves. And then when we are flooded with all the information, we're kind of lost sometimes. But like with that like one plan, just like really simple structure, that may help a lot.
Right. And I think it's good to explore too. I think back to things I did in college, and they're certainly not a part of my life now, but it was through the experience of taking certain classes or being a part of certain activities or events that I realized this is not for me. So I think it's important for students to don't think of it as a waste of your time. It's actually wonderful to discover not only what is right for you and what is a good fit, but even discovering that something's not a good fit doesn't mean that that was a waste of time or a waste of your energy or efforts. And you'd be surprised as you get older, sometimes how things reappear, and all of a sudden you say, wow, I haven't thought about that in 20 years. And all of a sudden it's valuable for whatever season of your life you're in,
Yeah, that's really hard to predict.
Oh, totally. Impossible. Which is why you can't take yourself so seriously, and you need to really just be appreciative of the moment you're in. And there's not a day that I don't walk onto campus and look around and say, man, I'm just so blessed, and how amazing to be at this outstanding university and to have this wonderful career and to have the privilege of working with so many amazing students from all the corners of the globe. And, to think that we have all the technology that we have, and we have electricity, and we have food. And, I've worked in parts of the world where that is not the case in school. So, I think there's a wonderful little short phrase that says, gratitude is the attitude. And I think as a student, if you could embrace that in the midst of the stress that is very real, but just take a big breath and say, wow, this is a great building, this is a great classroom, or this is great technology I'm working with, or wow, how wonderful that I have access to such talented professors, and wow, aren't my choices at the dining hall plentiful, you know? Things like that. It kind of helps put things in perspective.
Yeah, I think that's always like people forget about it. Like when we step back, there's a whole new world
That's
sometimes.
right. That's right.
So my next questions would be like, what advice would you give to an undergraduate student who is having challenge time deciding what path to follow?
Right. Well, you know, I would just say to try and spend as much time as you can really thinking inward and really thinking on some of those things I mentioned, and trying to envision, you know, where do you see yourself in 6 months or a year? What what are your real passions? I think asking yourself what really gives you joy could help answer that question. And you know, there's a very big difference between joy and happiness. Happiness is kind of in the moment and it's short lived, but joy is that deeper feeling where you say, wow, like nobody could steal that from me, you know? But on a very practical level, you know, just yesterday in a faculty meeting with the music department, one of my colleagues was talking about the writing center and the wonderful resource that is for students. And I think that a very practical bit of advice I would give students is if they're struggling trying to find that direction, one thing that our university does, dare I say, better than many universities in the country, is allowing and having resources available to students to be able to figure out a lot of those practical problems that they're struggling with. Our resources on campus are absolutely outstanding. So I would encourage students to get plugged in and find who they need to connect with to, you know, solidify their track and their direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I feel like you give a lot of good advice. And I'm just going to end the session with a fun question. That would you have any like fun, I don't know, inspiring songs or eye-opening like albums for new students so that they can like start their semester with like a good song? I don't know.
Oh, that's a great, great question. You know, when I was in college, I would tell students to, sorry about that. I would tell students to check out Ray Charles. Ray Charles has some of like the happiest music. And I remember when I would need a break and I just want to like dance around, and I'm showing my age because I used to walk around on campus with a portable CD player, you know.
Wow.
But I'd put my Ray Charles CD in, and there was a tune he had called Mess Around, which was just fun and just made me just want to smile and dance. So I would tell students to find some Ray Charles or whoever brings you, you know, brings that smile to your face and makes you want to dance a bit, you know. But check out Ray Charles. Ray Charles is pretty hip.
How will you spell that, Rachel?
So Ray, his first name is Ray.
Okay.
And his last name is Charles, which is CHARLES.
Okay. Yeah. I will definitely include this bit into the video.
Yeah, he was a cool guy. Actually, he's so cool. You could tell I really mean this. I have one of his albums right here. Ray Charles. That's the guy.
Oh, that's just by the hand.
Yeah, great album.
Thank you, Professor.
Oh, thank you so much for doing this, and good luck with the rest of your semester. I appreciate you so much, and I hope you have just a great end of the school year. Okay.
Okay.